Shuklambaradharam Vishnum Shasivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadhanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopasantaye Vyasaya Vishnu Rupaya Vyasa Rupaya Vishnave Namo Vai Brahmanideye Vasishtaya Namo Namaha Yasya Smarana Matrena Janma Samsara Bandhanat Vimuchyate Namastasmai Vishnave Prabha Vishnave Om Namo Venkatesaya. Pranams to everybody. Yesterday we saw up to Sannivasaha. Let's move on to the next nama. Suyāmunaha Shobanam Yamunam Yamuna Sambandhi Jalam Kaliya Nishkasanenam Yasmaditi Suyāmunaha. That means Yamuna means the Yamuna river. Yamunaha, people who are residing on the banks of Yamuna river. Suyāmunaha. So he made them, this made it absolutely auspicious or Mangalakaram. That means because of his stay over there, because of his feet and this on the banks of Yamuna, he made the entire area on the banks of Yamuna as Suyāmunaha. That's what it is. Other meaning is because he removed that Kaliya from that bank and then made it more safe and then habitable for the people to live in that and made it auspicious, and therefore is called as Suyāmunaha. Other meaning is all this auspicious. Su also refers to auspiciousness. The people are residing on the banks of Yamuna, like Nandagopa, Yashoda, Balarama, Subhadra, all those things. He was being surrounded by all these people, and therefore is called as Suyāmunaha. Other meaning is one who made this place Yamuna absolutely auspicious because of his taking bath there, playing on that, doing Rasa Krida, and several other things, made that entire Yamuna river as auspicious and absolutely pure, and therefore is called as Suyāmunaha. In fact, Yamuna river is said to be even greater than Ganga, because Ganga had association with the feet of the Lord, or maybe the toe of the Lord, whereas the Yamuna had the entire body of Krishna. Always it was it had association with the entire body of Krishna, and therefore it is much more auspicious than Ganges itself. So Suyāmunaha. Let's move on to the next sloka. Bhūtāvāso vāsudevas sarvāsunilayoऽnalaha darpahā darpado dṛpto durdharoऽthāparājitaha. The namas are bhūtāvāsaha, vāsudevah, sarvāsunilayoऽnalaha, darpahā, darpadaha, adṛptaha or dṛptaha, dṛptaroऽthāparājitaha. Bhūtāvāsaha. Bhūtāni atra abhipramukyena vasanti iti bhūtāvāsaha. That means one who is able to make all these various pranis, all these jivas, always live under his auspicious eyes, and therefore is called as bhūtāvāsaha. Other meaning is Krishnatve nihrita parabhavatvat bhūtāvāsa. That means when he was in Krishna, he completely hid his paratattva and started playing like like any other children, any other small boy, and therefore all the people came and started residing near him, because if they know that he is a paratattva, people will completely get away from him. So he was saulabhyam. That means he hid his paratattva and started playing like any other Gopa boy, and therefore all the Gopas came and then started living near him, and therefore he is called as Bhūtāvāsaha. Bhūtāni asvasavascha. That means one who is able to protect the what do you call this Bhutas. Bhutas means all these Jivatmas, all these living beings, and then he's make them live in this universe, and therefore is called as Bhūtāvāsaha. Vāsudevah. You already saw one meaning of that. Vasu means living everywhere. Or one in whom everything resides. Devaha means one who is doing it as a child's play. That's one meaning of Vasudeva. Other meaning also we saw Vasudeva, because there are three names of Vasudeva coming in Vishnu Sahasranamam. Second one was Vasudevasya apatyam puman. That means one who is the son of Vasudeva, and therefore he is called as Vasudevaha. Other meaning is Vasati iti Vasuhu, Vayuhu tasya devo Vasudevaha. That means one is one which is residing everywhere is also air. Air resides in everywhere. There is no place air is not there, and therefore it is also called as Vasu. One who is the Lord of this air, the what do you call this Vayu. One is the Lord of this Vayu, and therefore is called as Vasudevaha. That's one meaning. Other meaning of Vasudevaha. Other meaning is Vasudevatpyatve Dvishtika Dhyayatmam Nirjayanchi Vasu. That means one as Vasudeva, gave meaning to this, the Dvadasakshari mantram, the Pranava followed by Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That is the Dvadasakshari, that is contains 12 letters. Bhagavan was the, what do you call this, Sri Krishna Paramatma was only an embodiment of this Dvadasakshari mantram, and therefore is called as Vasudevaha. Other meaning is Jagat Chadayati Maya iti Vasuhu Sayeva Deva iti Vasudeva. That means one, this Maya, which is encompassing this entire universe, and therefore it is also called living in this entire universe, is also called as Vasu. And then Bhagavan is the Lord of this Maya, and therefore is called as Vasudevaha. Sarvāsunilayo:a. Sarvasunam sarva praninam nilayaha ashraya sarvāsunilayo:a. That means one who is the shelter or above shelter for all these various Jivatmas in the living in this universe, and therefore is called as, or the refuge of all these people, and therefore is called as Sarvāsunilayo:a. Sarva ekasavaha prana jivatmake yasmin avyaye niliyante saha. That means into whom all these jivatmas ultimately get into, this at the time of pralaya get into him, and then becomes a laya, gets merged into Bhagavan, and therefore is called as Sarvāsunilayo:a. Analaha. Alam paryapta shakti sampadam na asya vidyati alana. That means one who is never happy, never ala means enough. That means being content with that. Analaha means he is not content with whatever he is giving to his devotees, and therefore he is called as analaha. Other meaning is there is no limit to his shakti. Alam paryapti shakti sampadam na asyeti. That means there is no limit to his shakti or his powers and the strength, and therefore he is called as analaha. Even the Agni is also called as analaha, because in the Agni, however much you put as the items for it to be burned, it doesn't say enough. No, it keeps on burning whatever you put into the fire, and therefore the Agni is also called analaha. And Bhagavan is the antarayami of Agni also, and therefore he is called as analaha. Analaha bhakta bhishta danena alabdha buddhir Atitya analaha. That means, as I told you, he is not content with whatever he gives to devotees. He wants to give more and more, and therefore he is called as analaha. Darpahā, darpam asuranam hanti iti darpahā. That means one who is able. Darpa means pride. One is able to destroy the pride of the asuras, and therefore is called as darpahā. For example, different asuras. One you can talk about this Mahabali Chakravarti. Mahabali Chakravarti thought he is the lord of this entire three worlds, and finally Bhagavan made him a humble person, saying that okay, then if there is no place for you to keep the third feet, please keep it on my head. So he was completely humble by destroying all his pride, and therefore he is called as darpahā. Dharma viruddhopati tishtatam darpam hanti iti darpa. That means when people are on the side of adharma, he destroys all their this pride, and therefore he is called as darpahā. Similarly, when this Indra thought haughty, and therefore he started pouring this rain for 7 days on this Gokula, Bhagavan Krishna Paramatma took that Govardhanagiri on his head and kept it in his finger for about 7 days, and then ultimately Indra lost. He didn't have enough water to pour, and therefore he surrendered at his feet and sought his pardon. Therefore he was able to destroy the pride of Indra also, and therefore he is called as darpahā. Darpadaha, dharmavatmani vartamananam darpam dadati darpadaha. That means one who is not on the path of dharma, he makes them initially to create a darpa, that means pride in them, and therefore allows it to grow, and therefore he is called as darpadaha. Darpam garvam ayogyebhyo dadati darpa. That means he makes them to give that people who are not his devotees, he makes them to this darpa. That means their this ego to go, and then finally, of course, he removes all their ego. Initially he creates that ego and then make them to fall into that. So that's what it is, darpadaha. Dṛptaha, adruptaha. That means, but at the same time, he doesn't have any ego or anything like that. When atapi swayam adruptaha. That means when Yudhishthira asked him to be the messenger, he didn't have any pride and say, I am the Paramatma, you don't send me as a messenger or something like that. So he doesn't have any pride, and therefore he is called as adruptaha. Other meaning of dṛptaha, you can also interpret as dṛptaha. One who is being happy by being, on account of his, he's being pampered by Yasoda Maya and then Nanda Gopa, and therefore he is called as dṛptaha. Durdharaha means dharayitum ashakya. That means very difficult for anybody to hold him. Even if you do meditation for a few, maybe about 20-25 minutes, maybe at a split second you will have the vision of the Lord or something like that. But if you want to hold on to that, you can't keep that, because he's durdhara. It's very difficult for one to hold on to the, that Bhagavat Anubhavam. And therefore is called difficult, because unless he decides and gives you that this anugraha, it's difficult for us to keep on holding to the form of the Lord, and therefore is called as durdharaha. Other meaning is when Krishna was a small child, the kind of pranks and then his naughtiness was very difficult for people to bear, difficult to control him. And that's why one out of anger only once Yasoda Maya tied him to the trough, because otherwise the kind of naughtiness was something which was complete, which cannot be borne, unbearable, and therefore is called as durdharaha. I think we'll stop with this Slokha, Nama, and we'll move on to the other Nama tomorrow. Om Namo Venkateshaya.